Hold up.
Is the heat on?
Hey.
Yes. Yes, y'all. Y'all in big treat here, you know what I'm saying, on the Heat 'em Up podcast. I'm your host, T-Lou. We got a special, very guest, WD3, that's going to be hosting with me today and talking about Deion Sanders. Get your popcorn up. Go ahead and take the floor, WD3.
Hey, what's up, you guys? This is WD3, and welcome to the Heat 'em Up podcast. Hey, like T-Lou said just a second ago, we got some very, very special, a good subject for you today. We're talking about one of the GOATs. I think he's probably one of the greatest football players of all times. He's definitely was a standout at Florida State University. He was also a standout with many NFL teams, and he even played Major League Baseball. Now, this guy's a stud. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Deion Sanders. Yes, Deion Sanders. T-Lou, what do you think what pops to your mind when you hear Deion Sanders? Neon Deion.
Man, the way he steps, the way he moves, man, is man, I never seen a man move like he moved.
I think he's probably one of the fastest guys I've ever seen in my life. He was definitely one of the fastest players ever to get on a baseball field with the Atlanta
Definitely.
Braves and the New York Yankees and such. And he was just electrifying with the Atlanta Falcons and the San Francisco 49ers. And with the Dallas Cowboys, my favorite
yes.
team, no offense to the Cowboy haters out there, but shout out Cowboy Nation. Deion Sanders, his couple years with the Cowboys was like the heyday for us. So this is a pretty big deal when controversy arises and we're talking about a legend like Deion Sanders.
That's right.
I would say in catching you guys up to speed, a lot of you guys know that he was right after the George Floyd incident. It was a big deal that Deion Sanders was bringing his brand to Jackson State. Shout out to the Jackson State Tigers down there in Jackson, Mississippi. But those guys were not necessarily on the national radar before Deion Sanders came there. You think that's a fair statement, T-Lou?
Yes, I really do.
Well, by the time you fast forward to now, and he is, I believe he lost 5 times in 3 years. He was undefeated this year. I think they were 9-2 last year. Don't make me exact on that. But this guy's really turned that program. And not to mention, every time you turn on your phone, you're seeing shorts and clips of Deion Sanders. He is an absolute master of the social media, which is why I am tuned in to Jackson State. How did you get exposed to Jackson State, T-Lou?
Same thing with the shorts and just like all kinds of clips he was putting out was just amazing, man. It's inspiring, you know what I'm saying, on how he spoke, you know what I'm saying, about the team and you know the things he wanted to change. That's what caught my attention about it.
And shout out to the clips that we're using on here. We'll claim fair use on those clips, but we just wanted you guys to see some of the moments. Like if you see on the screen, this is when Deion Sanders first met with his new Colorado Buffalo football team. The first I was exposed to the Colorado Buffaloes, they were a pretty good national championship team back in, I believe in the 90s. You remember that, T-Lou, or 80s or 90s?
Yeah, 90s. Yeah, there was up there, you know what I'm saying? I think it's been about like a decade.
Yeah, and they were real good after that. They had Cordell Stewart. They had Eric Bieniemy, who's a coach now. They had a lot of real good players that came out of Colorado, and they were in the Big 12, and now they're in the Pac-10. So they're in a big conference. It's one of the powerhouse conferences that they've been in, both of them. So they're not a little school. Now, when you talk about Jackson State has basically been in the forefront of everyone's mind because of Deion Sanders. But no one's been worried about Colorado. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
I think they went 1-11 last year, but every time I turned on my phone, you saw Deion Sanders and his Jackson State men, whether it's his sons at the hotel, whether it's the guys at the meeting doing dancing, a lot of team building things, that you could tell those guys genuinely enjoy the way Deion Sanders was running his football program.
Oh yes, man. It looked like his team was ready to run down a freight train for him, man.
Now, that is the key, in my opinion, to how you can pull off such aggressive social media push with your team, is if you are a Deion Sanders who commands the respect of the young men that he's talking to. I mean, could you imagine the countless people who have stories right now of at the airport or after a game or somewhere in a mall that they ran into and met Deion Sanders and they remember that their whole life? Imagine if you're with him every day. So these men, these young men have had a great opportunity, and it come out of all places, Jackson State. Right. So out of all places, Jackson State is where they got a chance to experience Deion Sanders on a daily basis. Now, here's where the controversy sets in, because we just set the stage of how awesome his media push has been. He's even been on Aflac commercials with Nick Saban. Nick Saban is probably like the perennial national champion contender every year at Alabama. He even won one at LSU. So there's two coaches on that Aflac commercial, and one of them is Nick Saban, and the other one is Deion Sanders, still at Jackson State. And they could have picked anybody, Ohio State, anybody, but they got Jackson State. So that just shows you the power that he's commanding and the attention that he's commanding at that program. Now, fast forward to he delivered on the football field and won a championship this year in an undefeated season. What do you think about that, T-Lou?
I think that's amazing, man, what this man accomplished in just 3 short years.
Yeah, and he didn't have everybody in the conference giving him the red carpet. He almost basically had a fight in the middle of the football field with a coach from I don't even know the school.
Alabama? Was it Alabama? Or?
Alabama. I don't even know what school. Yeah. Shout out to you guys. No disrespect, but I mean, this is how unknown a lot of these colleges are outside their region, and how small they are. Is I can't even remember who the coach was. I just remember Deion Sanders had a problem with him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't remember what school he went to.
Yeah, I remember he was going up to shake his hand, and he gave him a funny look and pulled back from him.
Yeah, and then he told him he wasn't swag, and they had pushed each other. You know what I'm saying? So if that guy had that same exchange with anybody else, it would probably be like a little scene clip. But since Deion, and this is Jackson State and Deion.
Wow.
So anyway, he's a big deal. That's the whole point. He's a big deal.
Well, it's heating up on the Heat 'em Up podcast. I gotta burn the fire.
Well, hey, just to run it down, we are here on the Heat 'em Up podcast. For those who are just tuning in, we're talking Deion Sanders. We're setting the stage because there's a lot of people who's very upset that Deion made the jump from Jackson State, which is now, it's interesting to see if Jackson State is going to be talked about next year. What do you think about that part of the story?
I hear people saying that they're set up for the next 3-4 years and that, but I just without Deion there, man, I don't know, man. It's hard to make a call on that. You know?
Okay, so I'm gonna get my opinion out here real quick.
Okay. Deion
Sanders moving from Jackson State to Colorado, from HBCU to Pac-12, Pac-10, Pac-12. I forget which one it is, but the Pac-12 conference, which is one of the ones that if you win that conference, you're probably going to the college football playoffs, chance to win a national championship. Definitely a a step up as far as college football is concerned.
Mhm.
But because of the impact and people fell in love, I saw Snoop Dogg, I saw many artists down on the Jackson State sidelines, really in Wallow, Gilly, and all these guys, they're down on the field. They're down on the sidelines. I guarantee you the sidelines of the Jackson State football games was like at least so many celebrities there. Did you see that?
Yes. Yes.
So he made a lot of people fall in love with the movement. I don't know if they fell in love with the players, because the only players I know, honestly, are the
Hunter?
two Deion Sanders boys and Travis Hunter.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
That's
the
who
only players
stands
I
out.
know.
That's who stands out, right?
Well,
On the team?
those are the ones who I've seen promoted. Now, there's another
Okay.
guy who does a good impression of Deion Sanders.
Right.
There's a linebacker I saw that they had a little highlight video on. But for the most part, I'm asking, were people falling in love with the program? Were they falling in love with the kids? Were they falling in love with Deion Sanders?
I think Deion Sanders' vision was crazy, bro. I think that's what people wanted to see is Deion. You know?
I think that is a fair point. I think a lot of those celebrities would not have been on the sidelines wearing Jackson State gear if Deion Sanders was not there.
That's right, man.
I've
Deion
seen a lot
changed
of
the whole
people
thing.
flock to the Grambling and Southern game.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal. But where was Jackson State in all that?
I know exactly what it is.
It's amazing.
So where was Jackson State and all that? They didn't factor into the Southern versus Grambling football game that would be on national TV, right? So if you wanted to get some national TV exposure in HBCU, you had to either go to Grambling or Southern, and that was just going to be for one game. I turn on the TV every Saturday. Alabama's on there, Ohio State, Michigan, they're on there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where you think Colorado's going to be?
Man,
next year?
they're gonna, oh my God, they're gonna be top dogs.
Well, I don't know how good they're going to be, but I'll tell you what, the interest level is going to be high. There's going to be a lot of national television exposure because win or lose or draw, people want to see the carnage. And this is going to be a spectacle. Game 1, game 2, game 3. Don't let them lose, you know what I mean? Or don't let them run the table. It's going to be it's going to be carnage either way. But my question is to you, T-Lou, what do you think about the criticism that that Deion Sanders, hey, what's up, you guys? What do you think about the criticism that Deion Sanders has faced making the move from Jackson State, which we just described?
Well, they're calling him a sellout, man. And could you explain why they're doing that? Why does he have to be a sellout?
Well, I think that's kind of the sky is blue, obvious type of analysis of the first. It's like the very first snap judgment of him leaving. Oh, he's a sellout because HBCUs predominantly historically Black colleges.
Yeah.
They're usually at historically Black colleges. If you like, Eddie Robinson was the longest standing coach in college history. He coached Grambling for 50 years.
So do they believe that he's supposed to stay there for 50 plus years?
I think it's not a belief. I think it's more or less has been the history of HBCU as coaches have stayed there. They've had job security. They didn't have if you were good like Eddie Robinson, then he stayed there for 50 years. And his son is the one. Isn't his son the one who got into it with Deion Sanders? You know, that's the one. Yeah, his son got into it. So I think the other coaches knew that Deion wasn't going to be in the league for very long. That's why the guy said, "You're not swag." Do you remember that press conference?
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Man, ain't that crazy?
Right. So being that everybody knew that, I had a friend of mine give me the word stepping stone. Everyone knew that Jackson State was a stepping stone for Deion's career, but I think a lot of people failed to appreciate the fact that he did humble himself and come to a place where he was greatly appreciated and needed. Right? I mean,
Right.
I think it's a pretty high profile job at this point, whoever comes next. Who's
Oh
gonna
man.
who's gonna be at Jackson State and what are they gonna do to follow up Deion? That's a
So,
story.
so here's the question: do you believe he came there for the bag? That's what people were saying. Like,
I think advancement, I'll let Deion make his own
yeah,
he says that in coaching you either get terminated or elevated.
right,
And that type of thinking to me sounds like Deion always keeps himself on point and always seeks to improve himself. He didn't just resign to say that I did a good job. Look how good a job I did these last 3 years. Everybody's watching us now when nobody's watching before. His mind frame didn't sit on that. His mind frame was you're either terminated or elevated. So he was thinking, if I come back next year and have a losing season, and then I'll have a losing season the year after that, you guys are going to be screaming, fire him.
right.
And then no Colorado, no Alabama, no Michigan State is going to come knocking on his door, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you ever heard of dropping the mic while you're on top, leaving while you're on top, like Michael Jordan, we thought he was going to do a 98.
Right.
John Elway, he won a Super Bowl and retired.
Sure did. Who else
Yeah.
did that? Did Peyton Manning do that
Uh,
for the
I think
Broncos?
Peyton Manning, he pretty much did the same thing, if not like a year before he retired. He won the Super Bowl. So a lot of people leave on advance on top while their brand is still hot.
That's right.
The Deion Sanders brand is every bit as hot as when he played football. And he's doing it in the coaching realm, which is very, very impressive because there was a time that people of color were not allowed to be the brain trust of an organization, like a coach or a quarterback or a middle linebacker or anything that had to do with really making judgment calls and things like that. So just being a coach is something that symbolically is breaking some barriers, and then doing it at a high level is also doing it at a high level is the whole key. Like if he sucked, then what's the story? It's like Magic Johnson was not a great coach. He was a great player, but he wasn't a great coach. Deion Sanders is a great player, probably the best player I ever seen in football, who made an impact on defense and offense. He's probably the greatest player, and he just led a team to a championship in an undefeated season. What's better than undefeated?
Okay, so do you believe that they're going to try to air out dirty laundry now? It seems like people are bickering back and forth.
Good question.
Yes, Coach Prime says JSU was stealing the church's money. Y'all ask for the call,
I saw a clip where Deion was talking about the excitement that he created around each game. They had 60,000 people packed in the stadium, and he'd go and see the ticket sales says 28,000, and he's like, he's like questioning that. He's definitely questioning why more than 100% of the ticket sale revenue would be hidden, and he's like, who's hiding it and what for? Those clips are coming out, and that clip was made 2 years ago. So now I think you said the word dirty laundry. I think a lot of things are coming out and being leaked that are from people who don't like this move that Deion made. Does Jackson State still owe him any money right now at this point? Do you know?
Well, I mean, I heard that he was giving. Deion was, giving donations to the place. So I don't know how
he was giving. He was giving
away
his money. He basically came out on more of the charity side.
Yeah, he was getting everything set up for him, man.
So Colorado's
endorsements.
going to pay him $30 million, I believe, over 5 years. $30
Oh
million
my God.
over 5 years
Wow.
versus making a donation to build the facilities. Deion Sanders went to Florida State, T-Lou. He didn't
Yeah,
go to Jackson State.
that's right.
He went to Florida State. But people are not, I think you got to factor in the fact that his opportunity opens doors for his sons. His sons may have been able to go to good schools anyways, if they had just did their recruiting process on their own without their dad heading to Jackson State, right? I'm sure
Yeah,
they would have probably went somewhere else.
man, that's a flashback.
But
Let me
I
hold
think
up.
him now
That's a
being able,
flashback.
huh? That's a flashback.
Yeah.
Well, Deion Sanders going to Colorado means for certain his son, the defensive back Shiloh, and his other son Shadur, the quarterback who quarterbacked the undefeated season, they're going to Colorado too. So they'll be able to put Colorado on their resume rather than just Jackson State, right?
That's right.
Play against better competition. They're going to be playing against probably USC, UCLA,
Wow, that
Oregon.
deserves a drum roll.
And those are his sons. Now, this is a proud father, right? Who had 2 sons on a championship team, let alone him being the
Wow.
coach.
Wow.
So, and he was able, Travis Hunter is a subject into itself because he was actually a kid who could have went to any major college he wanted to. He was the #1 high school player coming out, and he chose Jackson State. He first chose Florida State, and he rescinded his scholarship to Florida State and chose Jackson State.
That's right. Man,
This was the #1 recruit coming out of high school his year. He went to Jackson State. So no doubt that kid's going to Colorado, right?
That's right.
So now because he was loyal to and respected the Black college system, he's going to be rewarded in a lot of ways by being able to play against better competition, knowing that, hey, a lot of you guys I'm playing against didn't spend a year or 2 at Jackson State or at Southern or Alcorn State, right? Those kids, in layman's terms, they paid their dues. But as a professional and as an athlete, you want to play against the best competition out there. And that's the only way you're going to get real respect, because he could have went 30-0, his son at quarterback, but what were they going to say if he stayed his whole time at Jackson State?
Ooh, well, I got something real sticky. Check out this, man. I want the folks to see this. Look at that.
Says this Deion Sanders situation is true. Now, what situation is that?
Jackson State just got exposed bad. Let's hear the clip for a second.
Fair
Let's see
use
what
on
they're
this
talking
clip.
about.
This is a terrible look because #1, what Deion said about y'all, it's looking like it was true. And #2, maybe, just maybe, if you wouldn't have been so shady behind the scenes, Deion Sanders wouldn't have left in the first place.
And just let people know this is fair game,
Holy crap, ladies and gentlemen, you better get your popcorn ready for this one, or your favorite meal you like to eat whenever you watch a YouTube video, because come on now, who doesn't do that? Anyways, that's besides the point. We gotta talk about Jackson State. They just got flat on exposed. As to when I'm speaking, as to when you're watching this video, this is breaking news. I think this is huge, and let me just throw this out there. The stuff that is being leaked out about Jackson State, Deion Sanders said it was happening over 2 to 3 months ago and nobody believed him. Or maybe they did believe him, they just didn't care. And honestly, #1, not only is it a flat out shame, but #2, you can start to kind of understand, hey, maybe this was a reason he went to Colorado in the first place. Or not just went to Colorado, maybe this was a main reason he was wanting to get out of Jackson State. I'm not saying he didn't love the city, he didn't love the HBCU culture, he didn't love the people, but there's definitely some stuff he did not like. And well, what do we know? That stuff he didn't like, it's now coming to light. There's not a nice way to say this. There's not a nice way to put this. This isn't just a bad look for Jackson State. This is a terrible look. It also makes Deion Sanders look like a genius for leaving. All right, let me calm down. We got to lock in. We got a lot to talk about in this video, as always.
Okay. What do you think about this, man?
Well, put like this, I have to put some credibility in a lot of reports that there were problems because, for instance, if you're the hottest name in college football, like Deion Sanders is right now, you got a little school shining like a big school. Wouldn't you hold out for like Florida State, Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio State, right?
Right.
Why would you jump to Colorado? So that does look a little weird.
Right.
Colorado is a little bit random to me. It
Okay.
is really Boulder, Colorado to me doesn't say Neon Deion.
It
It
doesn't.
says I had to get the hell out of there. At least I got in a better spot.
So do you believe the process was rushed?
Just because it's Colorado, I believe that the process was really rushed. Deion Sanders went to Florida State. He's from Florida.
Right.
There's not Alabama, but there's LSU's out there. There's Texas A&M. I'm sure there's a Syracuse or a Virginia Tech, or somebody that has been in the national spotlight before recently that Deion could have forced their coach out. I would have traded a coach for Deion right now, especially at a Virginia Tech or somewhere like that.
Yes,
but
and I heard about that, and some people don't think that would have been the right move, you know, to swap out coaches. What is your take on that?
I just think, like we said, Colorado is pretty random.
Right.
If there was any other moves to make, I think he didn't really explore it like he could have. I don't think that there's a lot of programs out there, if they're thinking smartly, that wouldn't want that Deion brand on them right now.
Wow.
Because you're gonna get the top recruits in the country. You're gonna have all the attention and ticket sales. He made a 28,000 seat ticket sale place sell 60,000 tickets. Right? So this guy is over doubling your brand. What you thought your brand could go at capacity. I guarantee you those fans were not 28,000 strong before Deion at Jackson State. Right? If I'm not mistaken, Walter Payton went to Jackson State back in the day. That's, I think, where I remember Jackson State from, Walter Payton. But anyway.
Okay, so I got a current CU football player reacts to Deion Sanders hiring. So let's just hear what they got to say on that, and then do a take.
And this
on
is
that.
a current Colorado football player.
So
okay.
I'm curious because
let's see what he has to say.
Okay, let me share it. See right quick. All right, dump on the audio right quick. See what they got to talk about.
When CU defensive lineman Tyus Martin observed Deion Sanders, one thing was obvious.
Our energy, just all the energy that he brings, laughter, all the things like that.
Good, you getting some of my good stuff. We just getting started. I already went in the bag, baby. Let's go.
But most importantly, he's about business. That's gonna take us over the top to where we need to be.
And we finna go out there and do something that we know we're capable of doing.
It's gonna be crazy, but at the same time, we have to stay focused and not get too big-headed.
This high-profile move will make players' social media explode.
We're gonna bungee jump and follow with y'all, okay?
I feel like that'll be a great opportunity for us to get more known. I feel like he comes in on a social media platform, a big platform. He can put us out there as much as we need.
And as for expectations for Coach Prime?
Win. That's what we want. And I feel like he can make us a better man as well too.
He's made a lot of fans and helped out a lot of people.
He's a great leader. He'll pour that into us, and we'll show that on the field and off.
In Boulder, Jacob Toby, 9 News.
Wow, so you got people saying that, he can make us a better man. Wow.
So this kid really believes Deion Sanders is going to come in and make him win. So that's important. He believes in Deion just from seeing his energy and hearing him speak. That's pretty powerful, because there's going to be some people in the locker room or whatnot. There's going to be a lot of parents upset because their kid's not going to play for Colorado and Deion Sanders next year, right?
Right. Right.
And they played for Colorado last year. They thought maybe Deion's gonna come through like Travis Hunter's playing there. Sorry, Shedeur Sanders is a quarterback. Sorry, our two cornerbacks are locked up. We got Travis Hunter and we got my son on the other side. So if you was cornerback last year, you gotta leave or you gotta work hard and come off the bench, right?
Right. Man.
So anyway, that's the reality of that. But as far as people calling him a sellout, I think that's a bit harsh.
Yeah, I do too.
We don't call anybody a sellout who signs a free agent contract or who gets drafted or from college to the pros or
man.
like somebody play a couple years in college basketball or something and they come out for millions to the NBA. Like that's not a sellout. That's a professional decision. Now, when somebody calls them a sellout, doesn't that come off as they're saying inadvertently that Deion owes them something?
Yeah.
What would Deion possibly owe Jackson State?
Nothing.
He went to Florida State.
Nothing, man. He don't owe them nothing, man. He did them justice, bro. And that's the moral of the story. He did nothing wrong.
I think Jackson State should
appreciate it.
I think Jackson State should make the best highlight video you ever seen about these last 3 years and sell them in their bookstore and sell them across the nation.
Yeah.
Appreciate the years that you had with Deion Sanders.
Yeah, appreciate that, man, because, man, that's once in a lifetime, man.
He made it happen for you guys. He even has someone who was 1-11 last year, Colorado player, who's thinking, like, we just got to not get the big head. He's going to make us win. Like, nobody's saying, like, damn, that was Jackson State. They ain't nobody. And that conference ain't nothing.
Yeah.
Like, like, no, Deion's gonna make us win. So obviously that's still yet to remain to be seen if they're gonna win games or not.
So what do you think about Shannon Sharp? He always tried to put things in perspective about Deion,
Shannon Sharp sometimes comes off as hating progress within our community.
Right.
He comes off as go along to get along sometimes, and then sometimes he comes off as somebody who stands up for our community. Of course, we're a community of human beings, community of people, but we're talking about HBCU, so we have to kind of segment down to where this is very significant to Black people because historically, now they're about 30% mixed. But historically, they've been all Black, and the only opportunities we had to be doctors and pilots and whatever type of high educational thing that we'd aspire to, you'd have separate but equal, right? So it is historically an opportunity for people of color to be in places where they have access to historically Black universities. Shout out to Howard. I remember I was at OU. I went to the University of Oklahoma, the Sooners, and played baseball for 4 years. We played Howard. I believe they're historically Black university. They beat us one game, but they beat us because our coach didn't start our starters. He started our backups. And they came out and jumped on us. And then he put all the starters back in to try to catch up. So he didn't have a lot of respect for the HBCU, right? And then we got our butts kicked. And then we came back with our starters and beat them pretty good. But the coach tied our hands behind our back because we were in Howard, right?
Wow. Man, I got some breaking news, man. They said, they got on the Breakfast Club, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders slandered for leaving Jackson State. I guess he got donkey of the day.
He got donkey of the day for leaving Jackson State.
Yeah, I think so. We'll see.
Oh, come on, Charlemagne. Come on, DJ Envy. Do they still
see.
have the lady on there? What's her
Uh,
name?
What's her name? I forgot her
I know
name.
Envy and Charlemagne,
Yeah.
but if they're calling him Donkey of the Day, that
Let's
I don't
see.
agree with that. I
Yeah.
disagree with that.
Let me see what they're talking about here. Oh my God.
The Breakfast Club.
Yes, Donkey of the Day for Monday, December 5th goes to everyone out there who is slandering Deion Sanders because he decided to leave Jackson State University for the Colorado Buffaloes. Yes, if you haven't heard, after leading Jackson State to an undefeated season in their second consecutive SWAC championship, he decided to leave Jackson State to go to Colorado. And a lot of people are upset about it. Let's go to CBS Colorado for the report, please.
Well, as excited as Colorado may be to have Deion Sanders, not everyone is thrilled with his decision to leave Jackson State in Mississippi, which is among the historically black colleges and universities, or HBCU. We caught up with an HBCU graduate here in Denver who explained why some have mixed emotions about Coach Prime.
We did feel a little conflicted about it because he had such a great impact on a smaller university. However, I understand we only live in this life once, and financial opportunities and opportunities to grow, sometimes you have to take those opportunities when they come.
Well, Sweet also told us he is grateful that Jackson State got to experience Sanders' star power, and he hopes that Sanders leaves behind a blueprint and keeps a channel back to the players and prospects for HBCUs who look up to him now.
First of all, how rude of me. Dropping the clues bombs for Jackson State winning back-to-back SWAC championships. And listen, man, I understand if you are hurt that Deion Sanders is leaving Jackson State. I totally get it. It's Deion Sanders. All right, the man brought so much positive attention to that program, the SWAC conference and HBCUs. But instead of calling the man a sellout and saying that he sold our people a dream, how about appreciate what that man brought to the table? Okay, he got Jackson State University new practice fields, new locker rooms. He got Under Armour sponsoring Jackson State uniforms, countless other things that will benefit that program for years. And slander is the thanks he get. Deion Ben let us know that he would entertain Power 5 head coaching opportunities. In fact, his exact words were, I'm going to have to entertain it straight up. I'd be a fool not to. And in a business like NCAA football, where it's so many black players but so few black coaches, I, for one, have no problem seeing a leader of men like Deion Sanders go to a P5 school. I love seeing us leading at HBCUs, and I love seeing us leading at PWIs. And it confuses me to see y'all say Deion is chasing the bag. I know in 1994, Deion Sanders was doing a bad MC Hammer impersonation, and he put out a record called Just Be the Money. But there's absolutely nothing about his coaching track record that shows he's about the bag. Deion has been pouring into black kids for years.
Must be the money.
Okay, he spent several years as a high school football coach. All right, he opened up his own charter school, Prime Prep Academy, which actually closed because of financial distress. And coaching at Jackson State for $1.2 million for 4 years, and he donated half his salary to help complete ongoing efforts to upgrade Jackson State's football facilities. And y'all calling that man a sellout?
Wow.
Also, he has to pay Jackson State $300,000. He owes them $300,000 in a contract buyout. But y'all saying he's about the bag? And listen, let's talk about the bag. Okay, the bag is real. $29.5 million for 5 years versus $1.2 million for 4 years. It's easy to say he's chasing the bag now, but over the last decade, I haven't heard anyone say, "Man, Deion
I got
really
2%
is just
on my
pouring
phone,
into
T-Lou,
young black
going
men."
out.
And
Let's put this in perspective, and give a closing analysis on this.
Well, I would say I'm glad that Charlemagne went in the direction that he went, because I do agree with what he's saying here. I think he said it well. Shout out Charlemagne, shout out the Breakfast Club for that clip. But yeah, I was hoping that he wasn't the donkey of the day, but no,
Yes.
it turns out that Charlemagne was actually making the donkey of the day the people who criticized Deion. So I don't know. There's been a lot of good tips and a lot of good things that I think I'm just looking forward as we for you guys who are just joining us. We are welcome to the Heat 'em Up podcast. This is WD3. I got T-Lou on the ones and twos on the board, but we just wanted to weigh in on this Deion Sanders situation. Probably hadn't heard anything new. Probably heard a few new ideas, but You heard it from me. You heard it from T-Lou. We support Deion Sanders. We hope he wins next year.
Yes.
Hope he's successful. I'm appreciative for him making me aware of Jackson State. I did like following them. And I look forward to following Colorado just to see if he could bring that same energy and that same system to such a institution like Colorado that really needs it. So final thoughts, T-Lou.
Final thoughts is prime time, keep going to the top. Don't let nobody stop your drive, your motivation, because the motivation is top notch and it always keeps folks going. So just stay with that focus energy, Deion Sanders, and I want you to get 4 or 5 championships with Colorado.
I think it's also not to be overstated how many leaders are going to be born from their experience with Deion Sanders. So shout out to him, shout out to his family, and shout out to the fans out there. Without you guys, there is no interest in this subject. So this is WD3 and the Heat 'em Up podcast with T-Lou. We out.
We out.